We've known Yiayia our whole life, given the fact that she has lived next door to our nonna, our grandmother, and also our mum for over 40 years. And it wasn't until we moved in just after mum passed away, we started receiving the food over the fence.
So we just thought, well, let's try and turn a negative into a positive and make it our own, and we know mum will be here in spirit.
Daniel and Luke's poignant story is one of overcoming adversity to achieve life-changing triumph.
We had a relatively fun and enjoyable sort of childhood, just given the facts of, we had a lot of friends and caring people around us, but it was a tough sort of place to grow up. It was kind of a normal situation for us to have both parents sort of constantly arguing and our father being quite aggressive and verbally sort of abusing our mum. But in saying so, our mum treated us with so much love and made us feel so special, and we really sort of owe a lot to her, and what we're trying to do with Yiayia next door is sort of showcase her legacy through that.
In July 2013, Teresa Mancuso, a 49-year-old flight attendant, was stabbed to death by her estranged husband, Fernando Paulino. Paulino was convicted of his former wife's brutal murder and is currently serving a 25-year prison sentence.
It was definitely a bit of a shock for us, because you never think that things would eventuate that way, but there was constant threats throughout our household and through our life, knowing that our father did have such a hatred towards our mother. But for Daniel and I, we sort of just chose to live with our father prior to mum passing away, because our whole life was in the western suburbs at the time, whereas our mum lived in the northern suburbs. And it was also one of those things where, we felt more safe watching our father than being with our mother, because he was sort of the one that was, uneasy and sort of he could explode at any point. So at least if we could keep tabs on him and stay close to him, we felt like we were doing a service in that regard.
It wasn't until 2 years later we actually moved into our nonna's house, because no one was actually living in the house. So we just thought, well, let's try and turn a negative into a positive and make it our own, and we know mum will be here in spirit. But it took us quite some time to move in, and actually when we moved in, we didn't even step foot in the garage for another 6 months prior to that.
Obviously losing mum that night, we definitely felt like we lost both parents that night, and it wasn't a shock that there was anyone else responsible other than him.
The brothers, extended family and the reservoir community have been the most supportive. However, it was the generosity of their elderly Greek neighbor, whom they call Yiayia, that drew the brothers out of tragedy and into the safe arms of their loving surroundings.
It wasn't until we moved in just after mum passed away that we started receiving the food over the fence, and Daniel actually started recording it and just sort of posting on his own social media. And then he had the idea of making an actual account for Yiayia, and originally it was called The Girl Next Door, and it was just more so just to show sort of everyone that all the great food we're getting over the fence, and her generosity and kindness.
Positive feedback poured in almost immediately, resulting in numerous opportunities for Daniel and Luke.
They're all home-cooked meals, and they're nothing too complex. Everyone kind of has an easy process of when they're cooking dishes for their family, and also the fact that we'd love to share a story from those recipes, because we always want to relate back to sharing a story, what brings you back to that nostalgic time when you first maybe ate that dish when you were a kid, or when you were a bit more mature and you remember it more vividly. We just really wanted to showcase and kind of create a sharing kind of story where if you're sitting around the table, you can share those memories with one another. And another kind of point of view is what we loved that we achieved was sharing a QR code on some of those meaningful recipes or gardening tips and tricks to really try and engage and showcase a bit more of a story, whether that's about our mum or a dish that Yiayia might have cooked for us. And they're all, positive stories where we just really want to kind of bring back everyone to that time and place and have that nostalgic feel.
Yiayia obviously likes to keep her identity secret, which is awesome because it sort of goes along with what we're sort of trying to promote. And anyone sort of can be this loving neighbour. It doesn't matter, age or gender or whatnot. So Yeah, sort of, keeps it a mystery, which is great. And she's definitely from Greece, but that's sort of all we can sort of say for now. And the one thing I could probably say is her and Paul didn't meet in Greece; they met in Australia, which is quite unusual because I know my nonna and nonno sort of came over here together. But they're a bit of a mystery with them too, but we like to keep it that way and respect her privacy as well.
And she's from the village, so we can definitely share that, which you've probably seen in some of the recipes. There's a lot of village style cooked meals in that book.
So we're using all of our platforms and obviously the book to showcase everyone the importance of respect and kindness as well too, and we feel like that plays an integral part in fighting domestic violence, because Daniel and I, two young men, we don't have all the answers, and we don't sort of necessarily know how we're going to eliminate domestic violence, but the one thing we do know is the things that helped us sort of get through and navigate it, and oftentimes we think, what could we have done to sort of change things growing up? So, we are being quite open and honest with our story, because we know there might be someone, young going through the same thing that might be, feel a bit lost and don't know where to turn or don't know what to do. And we just want them to speak up and seek help, and often, find refuge for their mum or their father, whoever's experiencing the family violence or domestic violence. So if we can keep using our platforms to sort of spread that message, and obviously kindness and community as well too, we feel like more people will get support in that field and make the world sort of a bit of a stronger and happier place for us all to live, because we don't wish upon anyone to go through what we've been through, nor anyone should. It's 2023 now, so we got to sort of get rid of those old values where people are higher up than each other, whether it's gender or stuff like that. So we just want to keep using our space to support those messages.
We really want to just essentially make an impact on that social presence online, and really target the younger generation, because we're hoping that will change through that next generation.
For me personally, it's just to inspire people, and particularly men, just to be better, and sort of kill that narrative, where you are the dominant one in the household or just in life. Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. Doesn't matter where you're from. We all need air to breathe, and we all have a heart that beats. So I feel like, as long as we can sort of inspire people just to be human again and treat others with respect. And, you see that often with kids. Kids don't discriminate each other. They all just see each other as people. So, if we can do that and obviously live our life happy and free, like our mum wanted us to be, I'll be very proud, when it's all said and done. I think just sort of show anyone that, you can get through anything in life. Life, unfortunately, as sad as it sounds, it does move forward, and we got to keep moving forward, but never forget your time here, and you can't change the past, but you can definitely bring a smile forward. So if I can do that, I'll be happy when I'm with mum and nonna and everyone else. So